Okay, here we go.
I'm gonna heal it.
I'm not getting the microphone again. I don't know why this happens in the evening, but it just does. So,
Welcome to our healing service, a time to sink into chants with the harp and the shruti and singing of ancient texts as vehicles to call in healing, all guided through with Elizabeth. This is a time to allow yourself to sit with what is broken and hurt, disrespected, neglected, to allow yourself to ask for its repair, for its tikkun, and to invite in vision to see where healing and repair may come from within, from others, and from the earth. I found a poem that felt just right for our beginning. Unknowable by Heather Paul. God is unknowable, but here's what I know. God yearns to be known. God is sitting alone in the schoolyard wearing black and listening to death metal. God's not sure why it sounds like a prayer. God is writing a poem about us and isn't sure what's missing. God is writing a letter but can't find an ending. God is refreshing God's Twitter feed. God is liking posts on Instagram. God has 6 million unread emails. God's connection is unstable. God is stuck in traffic. God is in the hospital waiting room. God is singing at a campfire. God is pulling an all-nighter in the university library. God is singing, buying fruit in the grocery store. Even organic doesn't taste like the garden. God is grieving God's own inability to heal all who need healing. God is trying to remember that when someone is suffering, God's presence is enough. No one wants to be alone in the end, not even God. God is asking for our forgiveness on Yom Kippur. God's not sure if God believes in us, but can't stop searching for us anyhow. It's the world's longest game of Marco Polo. Can you hear me now? God asks. Did you call my name? Or was it only the echo of my own voice? Maybe we are God's echoes. Maybe God is inside each of us. Maybe we are inside of God. Maybe God is unknowable. But there's one thing I know. God yearns to be known.
Thank you for that beautiful poem. So I'm going to start us on this journey with one of Shefa Gold's chants that I was inspired to bring after receiving a High Holy Days email from Rabbi Yael Levi that said, "Let it be that in 5782 the gates open and together we bring to life this call from the psalmist. Chesed ve'emet nifgashu, tzedek v'shalom nashaku. When love and truth meet, then justice and peace will kiss." And, you know, our whole world full of beings and humans and everything is suffering right now, and these words just really spoke to me. And Reb Shefa says about this, Psalm 85 teaches us that the intimate encounter between love and truth will engender a world where justice and peace prevail. When we listen carefully to the ground of being, the earth itself, the earth herself, the earth himself, will sprout the truth, and the wide expanse of heaven will open to show us the way to justice. We aim for that place of the kiss, where our inner wholeness is expressed as love through everything that we do. Chesed ve'emet nifgashu, tzedek v'shalom nashaku. 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 Chesed ve'emet nifgashu, tzedek v'shalom nafshaku. חסד ואמת נפגשו, צדק ושלום נשקו. חסד ואמת נפגשו, צדק ושלום נשקו. חסד ואמת נפגשו, צדק ושלום נשקו. The next chant we're going to do is another Shefa chant that I'm going to invite you to chant with James and I. And this chant, what Shefa says about it, in the book of Proverbs, we are introduced to a great and powerful feminine archetype whose name is Chokhmah, wisdom. She was there when the earth was created, and she speaks to us through the majesty of creation. And that this chant is designed to help us open to the voice of Chokhmah, to become attentive to her presence and message every day as she speaks through the natural world. And as this is this Shemitah year and this year of really listening to the land, I feel like it's so important for all of us to open our hearts and our ears and our eyes to take in these messages, to support us in creating Tikkun Olam and in finding healing within ourselves and between each other. So we're going to be chanting this chant with the voice, as if we are the voice of wisdom. And the words are Ashrei Adam Shomea Li. And those, it's very simple. Ashrei Adam Shomea Li. Happy, blessed is the one who listens to me. We're going to sing this a few times through the melody, and James will hold down the melody, and then I'll sing a little harmony, and you can sing along with either of us, or you can just close your eyes and listen, however you feel like being. So it goes like this. I'm going to try and show you with my hands without knocking the microphone. Ashrei Adam Shomea Li, Shomea Li. Ashrei Adam Shomea Li, Shomea Li. So that's it. Ashrei Adam Shomea Li, Shomea Li. Ashrei Adam Shomea Li, Shomea Li. Ashrei Adam Shomea Li, Shomea Li. Ashrei Adam, Ashrei Adam, 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 Shomea Adam, Ashrei Adam, Shomei Ali, Ashrei Adam, Ashrei Adam, Shomei Ali, Ashrei Adam, Shomei Ali, 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 Shomei Ali. As we sit into a few moments of quiet, I invite us to feel our breath, feel our bottoms on the chairs or the couch or the floor, feel our heart pounding within our body, moving the rivers within us that we know as blood. Invite us to feel into our connectedness with the voice of wisdom, with the voice of the earth. So this next chant, called Taking Refuge in You, taking refuge in the holy mystery, taking refuge into the beloved. You know, there's so much that needs to be done to heal the world, to create justice, to help each other, to help ourselves, that it's, you know, it could be endless. And so I feel like this chant is a message of remembering to take that rest we need, remembering there's times when we just need to surrender into that holy, spacious beauty and mystery and awareness that is within us and without us all the time. And so just to really, as we're chanting, to invoke and embody this capacity to remember when we're in overwhelm, even 3 breaths, we can take refuge in the holiness. Even while sipping some water, we can take refuge. This chant is more complicated, has more words, and it is 2 parts. And so I'll speak the words to you, and then I'll sing through, and you can just join in as you want, hum along, however feels good to your whole mind, body, spirit. So the words Choneni Elohim Choneni, you pour out your grace to me, O God. Ki v'cha chasaya nafshi, when my soul takes refuge in you. And so here we go. Honeni Elohim, Honeni, Honeni Elohim, Honeni, Honeni Elohim, Honeni, Honeni Elohim, Honeni, O Kivacha, Chasaya Nafshi, Kivacha, Chasaya Nafshi, O Kivacha, Chasaya Nafshi, Kivacha, Chasaya Nafshi, Honeni Elohim, Honeni, Honeni Elohim, Honeni, Honeni Elohim, Honeni, Honeni Elohim, Honeni, O Kivracha, Chosai Nafshi, Kivracha, Chosai Nafshi, O Kivracha, Chosai Nafshi, Kivracha, Chosai Nafshi, Honeni Elohim, Honeni, Honeni Elohim, Honeni, Honeni Elohim, Honeni, Honeni Elohim, Honeni, O Kivacha, Chasai Nafshi, Kivacha, Chasai Nafshi, O Kivacha, Chasai Nafshi, Kivacha, Chasai Nafshi. Breathing in and out, feeling the holy breath of the great mystery breathing us, feeling ourselves resting into the holy refuge of the great mystery.
And so we invite you to share names of those you're thinking of in the chat, or just bring them into your minds, into your heart, those in need of healing, healing of body and mind and heart and soul. Also bring in your own healing, the places in you, the aspects of you, the aspects of your life in need of healing. And bring in the earth, her need for healing. And our country, all the divisions, animosity, the rifts. Call in healing for her too. And just envision silently all that healing that's needed. And envision all that needs healing to be surrounded with your love and the love of the universe and light and energy. Thank you, Elizabeth. May all in need of healing be healed. Yai dai dai. Yai dai dai. Yai dai 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 dai. Yai dai dai dai. Yai dai 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 dai. Psalm 84 says, "Happy are they who dwell in your house. Ashrei yoshvei vetecha." But one of my favorite translators of the Psalms, Nan Merrill, translates it differently. She translates it as, "You invite us to dwell within your heart." What might it be like to dwell within the heart of the divine? It's such a beautiful image. And I'd like to bring it in now, invoke it now, as this day, as we move deeper into it, deeper into the day, but also as we near the edge and the other side. Ashrei yoshvei vetecha. Oh, hallelujah. Oh, hallelujah. Ashrei yoshvei vetecha. Oh, hallelujah. Oh, hallelujah. Welcome to our afternoon mincha service. And we will begin nearly right away with words of Torah. The laning melody, the way in which it is chanted, returns to the melody of the rest of the year, the melody we hear on Shabbat and on our weekdays. It's beckoning us out of this holy day while we're still inside this holy day, but we're being beckoned, we're being called to the other side. The chanting, the text that we'll be chanting can be found on page 670 of your Machzor. Robert Ross will be chanting for us. And before he does, I invite you to say the blessing with me for engaging with words of Torah. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah.
Amen. Vechi tizbechu zeva shilamim ladonai letzonechem tizbachu Bayom Zivrachem Yeachel Omi Machorat בהנותר עד יום השלישי באש ישראל בעיר האכול האחל ביום השלישי פיגור הוא לא ירצה באוקליו עוונו יישא כי את קודש אדוני חילל ונכרתה הנפש ההיא מעמך ובקוצרכם את קציר ארצכם לא תכלה ועד צדך לקצור ולכת קצירך לא תלקט וחדמך לא תיולל ופרט קדמך לא תלקט לעוני ולגר תעזוב אותם אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
Yasher koach, Robert. So the Torah reading for today, this afternoon, is a reading about holiness. This wasn't exactly read just now, but in this larger reading that happens in the afternoon, the Torah says, you shall be holy. God says, you shall be holy, for I, the Lord, am holy. Holy, what does this word mean? Kadosh, Kiddusha, Kiddush. It means separate, special, uplifted, connected, beautiful, blessed. And the reading that Robert just read was in part about a peace or a wholeness offering, the Shalom offering. So on Yom Kippur, we're engaged in this act of cultivating holiness. It's a big part of what it's been about. And then what we get to do is we get to bring this wholeness, or I misspoke, but it works. I said it's an act of cultivating holiness, yes, but also cultivating wholeness. And we can then bring this holiness and this wholeness into the world to make the world more holy, to make the world more whole on the other side of this day. So let us bring in this guidance from the Torah as we step into our Amidah. We'll think of the ways that we are already holy and whole, and how we might increase holiness and wholeness, and how this all is a part of a bigger something, the bigger sum of all the parts. When we all do this together, imagine what the world could be. We are on the threshold after a long day of introspection, this holy day, and we are holy inside of it, and we will be holy beyond it. Adonai sifatai tiftach ufi yagid tehilatecha. May our mouths sing praise that is a gift, which will join with all the praise of the world to bring forth shalom, wholeness, connectedness, and peace. Our silent Amidah begins on page 694 and goes until page 714. Again, 694. And please note there's a silent Ashamnu and Alchait, an opportunity to break open our hearts even more or to release from our hearts whatever else needs to be released. Ve'al kulam Elohim selichot selach lanu mechalanu kaper lanu. For all of these, O forgiving God, forgive us, pardon us, grant us atonement, grant us peace. We now step into some fun. Jonah, our annual deep dive in Always a New Way with Emily Simon and her amazing team. I turn it over to you, Emily.
Ahoy, everybody. So let me tell you how Jonah is going to go this way this year as we take our annual not 3-hour tour. What we're going to do as a first step is called popcorn or improv for about 10 to 12 minutes. And then we're going to do the Herman Melville piece. So they're separate, which will leave us 10 to 12 minutes for that, and then plenty of time for discussion after that. So the Herman Melville piece, which some of you may have read, has a different conception of Jonah than I think that most of us have. So we're going to start with our conceptions of Jonah. Now, joining me, and I think that they're just about to be spotlighted as well, are two fine improv actors. My sister Anne, coming all the way directly to you from San Francisco, and our local thespian, who can then join with me as a lesbian, just couldn't resist it, Steve, is going to be also one of our improv actors, and then both of us will all be in the skit, as well as me, as in terms of what's going to happen here is that all of you are going to get to put into the chat in as few words as possible how you conceive of Jonah's character and how you see him. And then either Anne or Steve or maybe me will act that out very briefly. The idea is that this moves so that anybody and everybody who wants to give us what they think Jonah is like, which is not what Herman Melville thinks Jonah is like, and we probably won't even go there if you put it in, is going to be portrayed. So to get us started, and as soon as you want to start putting stuff in the chat, folks, go for it, is some people might think that Jonah is a melancholy guy, sort of like Eeyore. Oh dear, do I have to go to Nineveh? Do I have to save the people? Do I have to? I don't know. How about a conflicted Jonah? Ooh, Emily, you're frozen. Okay, am I still frozen? Am I frozen? Now you're unfrozen. Sorry about that. Okay.
You're good, Emily. You're fine. Anne, you were freezing a bit, and so I'm wondering if there's a little connectivity on your end. But Emily, you stayed steady.
Okay, thank you very much. And thanks for that help. I don't know what to say. We could give it a try again.
We heard you, though. We did hear you.
Okay, good. Okay. All right.
Okay, keep on going.
Good. So now we have a conflicted Jonah. I think perhaps, Steve, you could take a conflicted Jonah.
I don't know should I go to Nineveh or go to Tarshish? Should I stay or should I go? I don't know.
And then we have the rebellious Jonah. Once again, I think that might be Steve in the, oh, it's Steve, I can tell from his.
Well, I don't have to go. I mean, I can do what I want, and you know, I can get away with this. I'm gonna just not go.
How about if Jonah has just simply lost his way? Annie, do you have? Oh, I think that's Steve who might have a thought about Jonah being lost.
Oh my, I don't know where to go. I'm just confused, I think. You know, I thought I could survive this, but Can I really hide from God? I'm going to try.
How about stone Jonah on his way to Hashish? Annie, how would that be? I don't know. I don't know where I should go. Should I go to Hashish? Oh, I hope there's going to be a lot of M&Ms there and things that I could eat. And how about if Jonah is so desperate for an adventure that he's just full of hubris? Steve?
Well, yeah, it's really my choice, and I'm going to go where I choose, and God can't tell me what to do. I'm in charge.
How about if Jonah is just simply, as somebody just wrote, asleep? Wake up! And how about if Jonah is like a rebellious adolescent? Steve?
Oh, I don't have to do what God says. I will do what I choose to do, and I'm going to Tarshish. I'll get away from God and everybody.
How about if Jonah's incredulous? Can't believe it. Annie?
What? What do you want me to do? How can I do something like that? You want me to go to Tarshish?
Minute.
And if he's just simply rebellious, Annie?
If he's rebellious, I don't want to be like my father. I don't want to be like my father, some minor prophet. I want to go out in the world and be a major prophet.
Now, Emily had a couple as well. And one of mine was Jonah as a Pollyanna. So when God came to me, I had to look at the upside of all of this. And there was plenty. Firstly, this could go to the person who said Jonah wanted to have an adventure. I got to go on a very nice cruise, and I learned all about the intricacies of ancient Phoenician sailing vessels, because the commentaries tell us that it was the Phoenicians who would have been plying the seas. And then, oh, the whale. I had always wanted a degree in marine biology, and this gave me the opportunity to fully study whale intestines. And then there was that 3-day trek across Nineveh. And then after that, I learned how to build the very first sukkah. And of course, there was the botany lesson with the yikaron and the bug that ate it. Emily's other one, before we go back to others, is, so here's what you don't know, because I've never told anyone. This is from Jonah. I think I'm gay. And I'm so used to people not wanting to hear that, or certainly not wanting to hear my story, that I didn't think anyone would listen to me, let alone believe me in Nineveh. So I wasn't going to go. But then when I found myself in the belly of the whale and was spit onto dry land, somehow it all changed for me. And I felt comfortable in my own house, my body, and realized that God loved me for who I am. And it gave me the courage to speak out in Nineveh. Now, are there any others that are in the chat that I haven't seen yet, or that people want to put into the chat? Oh, we've got a sniveling one who I think may be able to be taken by one of our improvisers, and what Jonah would have been like if he was just a sniveling guy.
Yeah.
about a nihilistic Jonah?
Well, I know this.
Who really cares? Who really cares about all of this anyway?
And how about if Jonah's just having a midlife crisis, Steve?
I've had those. Yeah, I'll admit it isn't the cruise I had planned for, but a trip right now seems kind of nice, and I'll get out of the smoke. I'll get out of my conscience. I'll meet new people. I'll see whales in a new environment.
And how about Jonah the Nebbish?
Yeah, I don't think I'm the right guy for the job here.
Now, before we go to Herman Melville, either improvers or the congregation or anybody else, are there any other Jonahs that you want, before we go to Herman Melville, to share at this time regarding what our conceptions of Jonah might have been? We just got comedian from somebody. Well, that's a laugh. And we just got a lazy from somebody. Does somebody want to take that?
Oh, I don't think I really want to work that hard. I mean, you're asking me to do so much. Maybe I should just take a nap. I could go onto a boat and take a nap, and I don't think I want to do that.
And we just got an angry from Steve Portnoy as the tech. Annie, do you want to do angry, Jonah?
Yeah. Here's what I think about your stupid idea. I know that at the end of it all, you know what? You're just going to blame me. I mean, you're going to be so happy about everything else. The people of Nineveh will be saved. I'll probably be stuck in a whale, or I'm not even going to have a sukkah to keep that sun off of me. I mean, I'm just like, no, I don't want to do this. This is just ridiculous.
Okay. Anybody else feel that they want to share what their conception of Jonah is before we learn and go to Herman Melville's?
Well, I kind of thought Jonah was stupid. He didn't, I'll just go to Tarshish. God won't find me there. I mean, I can get out of here.
Anybody else want to put something in the chat or hear from our improvisers? Going once, going twice, going 3 times. 3 bells, Herman Melville. In the late 1800s, when Melville wrote Moby Dick, the entire town of New Bedford, Massachusetts, was built upon whale oil. And when our hero, Ishmael, a name that some of you might be familiar with, is in New Bedford waiting to ship out onto the Pequod, he is there on a Sunday. And he, like the rest of the town, goes to Pastor Mapple's church. The church is built like a whaling ship. On the walls, Ishmael sees engraved plaques and thinks that they're the 10 Commandments. They aren't. They are engravings of the men and boys lost on whaling ships. The whole town is there, awaiting Father Mapple before he arrives in a driving, howling storm. Father Mapple is in his 60s, and he had had a career in whaling for many years before he became, according to him, the pilot of the living God. The pulpit is high up in the church, and it's only as big as a crow's nest. There's no room for nothing more than the Bible and Father Mapple, who has to climb up a rope ladder as if he's climbing up the mast and the rigging, hand over hand, to ascend to the pulpit and to deliver his sermon. Father Mapple refers to everyone in the congregation, whether they are or they aren't, including the women, as sailors or shipmates. And before he begins his sermon, he tells them to move toward the middle of the church, as if he was telling them to move towards the middle of the boat so as not to upset the balance. And he begins his sermon. In our version, Steve is always Jonah. I'm a sailor until I become the whale. And my sister Anne is the other sailor until she becomes the captain. Steve, start us off.
I scoped about the wharves of Joppa and sought a ship bound for Tarshish.
I saw him on the docks ere he left. He had a slouched eye, hat, and a guilty eye.
And I saw him prowling amongst the ships like a vile burglar hastening to cross the seas. Had there been a policeman in those days, I would have summoned one and told them to arrest him on suspicion alone, so that he wouldn't have even made it onto the ship.
How plainly he's a fugitive. No baggage, not a hat box, a valise, or a carpet bag. No friends accompany him to the wharf with their adieu.
At last, after a much dodging search, I found the Tarshish ship just as it was receiving the last items of her cargo. I stepped on board to see the captain in the cabin.
We all desisted from hoisting in the goods to mark the stranger's evil eye.
Uh-oh, the sailors are staring at me. I will try to look all ease and confidence. I will give them a slight but reassuring smile.
He tried to fool us, but our strong intuition to the man was that he was no innocent. I told my mates that I suspected that he robbed a widow.
And I ventured he was a bigamist.
Or maybe he's the adulterer that broke jail in old Gomorrah, or be like one of the missing murderers from Sodom.
So, will you? It offers 500 gold coins for the apprehension of a parricide.
And as he looked first at that paper and then at me, all of his sympathetic shipmates crowded round and prepared to lay their hands on me. I trembled and tried to summon all the boldness to my face.
Which only made him look so much more a coward. What did you do then that you're running away? Mark how he doesn't answer. That itself is strong suspicion.
Mates, it isn't him. Says he's supposed to have a beard. Hair tied back in a single braid and an eye patch on the left side. This man is clean shaven, has almost no hair, and regular bifocals. We have to let him pass.
And I descended into the cabin where the captain was hurriedly making out his papers for the customs.
there? Who's there?
Dunk, dunk.
Who's there?
And oh, how that harmless question mangled me. For an instant, I almost turned to flee again, but I rallied. I seek passage in this ship to Tarshish. How soon sail ye, sir?
As soon as I heard that hollow voice, I looked up from my papers and I stared intently at the man who was standing before me. We sail with the next coming tide.
No sooner, sir.
Soon enough for any honest man that goes a passenger.
I'll sail with ye. How much is the passage money? I'll pay now.
I don't doubt that thrice the usual sum is too steep for you.
Oh. Look here. I have all these coins. I'm travel weary and need to sleep. Can you point out my stateroom, sir?
Not so fast. The speed to which you assented to a fare that you knew to be thrice the usual amount shows me that you are indeed a fugitive. Well, I don't know what you are running from, but at least I know it's not forgery. Your money is good, so I will put you down for passage and help a flight that paves its rear with gold. All right, there's thy room, and you look like you could use some sleep. Go ahead, step inside of it, and make yourself comfortable.
This lock contains no key.
I hear you fumbling around in there, Jonah, but you must know that the doors of convict cells are never allowed to be locked within.
All dressed and dusty as I was, I still threw myself into the berth. The little stateroom ceiling almost rested on my forehead. The room was below the ship's water, below the ship's water line, and I gasped for air. I thought I heard something calling out to me, maybe a fish or a sea monster, beckoning me and taunting me.
Get used to this, Jonah, for I, the whale, will soon hold you in an even smaller space in the smallest of my bowels wards.
And in the room was a light, screwed at its axis against the side, a swinging lamp which slightly oscillated and felt as if a large, frightening being was staring at me, watching my every move. I lay in my berth with tormented eyes, rolling around the place, and found no refuge for my own restless glance. I felt as I would after a night of drunken revelry, but no alcohol had I imbibed. At last, amid my whirl of woe, a deep stupor stole over me, and my ponderous misery dragged me drowning down to sleep.
And I saw that the time of tide has come. The ship cast off her cables, and from the deserted wharf, the uncheered ship for Tarshish, all careening, glided to sea. That ship was the first of recorded smugglers, and the contraband was Jonah. But the sea rebelled and would not bear the wicked burden. And I came closer to the ship during that storm, cleaving the sea with my open mouth. Steve, we need Annie.
Captain, Captain, Captain.
Captain, my captain, Captain, sound the alarm. A dreadful storm. The ship is like to break. All hands on deck to lighten her, boxes, bales, and jars overboard.
And even though it was right over my head, I slept my hideous sleep through the raging tumult. I saw no black sky and raging sea, felt not the reeling timbers, and neither heard nor heeded the far rush of the mighty whale.
I went below and saw that the castaway was fast asleep. Though the planks were thundering with trampling feet, the shrieking wind and the yelling men, I yelled in his dead ear, "What meanest thou, O sleeper? Arise!"
I staggered to my feet and, stumbling to the deck, grasped a shroud to look out upon the sea. But at that moment, I was sprung upon by a panther billow leaping over the bulwarks. Wave after wave leapt into the ship and roared fore and aft.
We were near to drowning. See how the rearing bowsprit points high upward, but soon beats downward again, pointing towards you and the tormented deep. The sailors and I have marked you. We grow more and more certain in our suspicions that you are the cause of this storm.
Terrors upon terrors ran shouting through my soul. I cringed, but said nothing.
Nothing to say, eh? Well, the sailors and I have decided that to fully test the truth, we will refer the whole matter to high heaven, and we will all cast lots to see for whose cause this great tempest is upon us.
And of course, the lot fell to me, as I knew it would, and they mobbed me with their questions.
What is thine occupation? Whence comest thou? Thy country? What people?
I am a Hebrew. I fear the Lord, the God of heaven, who hath made the sea and the dry land.
What have you done?
I am fleeing from the eternal Almighty God.
Then what should we do to make the sea calm for us?
Pick me up and throw me overboard, for I know that it is on account of me that this mighty storm has come upon you.
Men, row hard to the shore, men. Let us try and deposit this fugitive on dry land. Let us perish on account of this life. Do not let us be guilty of shedding innocent blood. For you are the eternal one. And once he is on dry land, then you can do whatever you please.
But the indignant gale howled louder, and the waves pounded over the boat with even more vigor. And despite the sailors trying to save my life and rowing at their hardest, I knew that all was lost, for such was the darkness in my soul.
So, with one hand raised evokingly towards God, I told the others to lay hold of Jonah, and I, as if he were an anchor, reluctantly dropped him into sea.
And instantly, an oily calmness floated out from the east, as I carried down the gale with me, leaving smooth water behind. And I went down in the whirling heart of such a masterless commotion that
He scarce heeded the moment when he dropped seething into my yawning jaws awaiting him. And I shut all of my ivory teeth like so many white bolts upon his new prison. Okay, everybody. it's discussion time. In order to make this work, I think the easiest way will be for those of you who know how to use the hand raise function on your Zoom to please raise your hand so that I can hopefully see you and hear your comment. For those of you who don't know how to use it, Steve just posted in the chat the manner in which to raise hand. But I would much prefer that at this point, people raise their hands so that I can hear you and see you and talk to you, rather than just using the chat, which I will find to be distracting. So does anybody right now have a comment that they want to make regarding Melville and regarding his conception of Jonah? And let me start you off with a question to perhaps fully set the scene, which is why does Father Mapple have to deliver this sermon in a completely howling storm? What is trying to be communicated? Do I see any hands at all that are seeking to be raised at this point? I'm not seeing any hands. Okay. Is there anybody who wants to take that or make a comment about that? And if somebody can,
I will unmute you.
Yeah. If you do the hand raise function, Steve will unmute you. And if you just wave your arms around and either Steve or I see you, then we will do our best to get you unmuted. But because there's 58 people, it's really hard to scroll through and see. I'm not seeing anybody. So going once, going twice, 3 times, moving on to the next question. According to Father Mapple, what is Jonah's character? And do we share this conception? How does it resonate with us? Anybody want to take that or talk about that? Again, any hands or people want to wave something around and try to be noticed, and or just shout and see if Steve can find you enough to unmute you. So I'm going to answer 2 of the things that were asked until I hear if somebody's else is going to communicate. So the howling storm is the storm from which both Jonah is suffering and the people are suffering and we are suffering. And according to Father Mapple, Jonah's character is he's a fugitive, right? He's a really bad guy. He's a sinner and he is on the way to not doing what he is supposed to be doing. Thus, he's a fugitive. Thus, he's got the slouched hat. Thus, he's a guilty person. Now, when we were doing our conceptions of Jonah, none of these matched. None of these matched with what we thought Jonah was like. So what do we make of this? What do we make of Herman Melville's conception of Jonah that it is so different from ours? Anybody? Once again, I'm not seeing any hands, and it's really hard for me to know if anything's happening out there.
So far, there's nothing happening out there.
Okay, or maybe there is just simply nothing happening out there. Does anybody have any thoughts at all here about why Herman Melville would write this way and what we as modern day Jews think about this in terms of, is this a conception of Jonah that we like? Is this a conception of Jonah that we think is one that has resonance for us in our world? Or is it something from long ago that doesn't have anything to do with us anymore? Annie.
Okay, so I think that in the times of Father Marple or in Herman Melville, that there was a very much of a good, or you were either good or you weren't. It was very black and white. People who were, if it was the Puritan times, or he's from New England. This is a time when that if you committed one type of a sin, you were then you're going to be wearing the scarlet A on your dress or whatever that was. So there was no gray area about whether or not maybe Jonah was just really confused, or he was having a bad day, or any of those sorts of things. It was that he was evil because he was running away from his responsibility.
Absolutely. Anybody else? Anybody else want to take the notion of this was an old time, essentially, conception of good and bad, and it wasn't with any kind of gray at all? Now, taking that forward, what do we think of the captain and the way in which Melville does the captain? And do we share that sort of notion? Well, what do we think of the captain? What is Melville communicating about the captain that makes it perhaps something? Say that again? Is somebody talking? And the way in which Melville. We always argue with
Stanley, can you get closer to the microphone? We can't hear you.
Wait, I can't hear who anybody. Who's talking?
Stan Schiffman. I think we can't hear you. We hear somebody talking in the background.
Huh?
Then wave. Say that again. Is Stan Schiffman trying to talk? Yes. Stan, talk.
Well, I can't. I hear you, dear. I just, stop.
Okay. Stan is now muted again. Is Stan trying to talk? And if so, can we get rid of the background noise where Stan is?
Yeah. Okay. Stan's hand is very much up right now. It looks like he's trying to talk.
Okay.
Hold on. Sorry, we're having some, and I see it. There's someone else who's wanting to talk. I think Lisa Cooper also has her hands up. I see.
I'm going to let everybody just unmute themselves as they need to. So hang on just 1 second. That'll make it much easier.
Thank you.
Now, if you want to say
All right.
something, you can unmute yourself. There's Lisa and then Stanley.
Okay. Lisa, go ahead, and then Stan.
Okay, so I was going to say that
Okay, so
I think that the captain is also made to be an all or nothing. The captain is shown much more sympathetically in the way that he tries to take him to shore first. That he knows that it's like a sympathetic rendering of the captain.
Right.
Surprisingly so, given what an unsympathetic rendering it is of Jonah.
All right. And
It
thank
sort of
you.
stands in contrast.
All right. So I think, Lisa, what you're saying, because again, there was some background noise from somewhere, so I'm just going to try and repeat it as best I can, is
Okay.
that, okay, and if I misstate it, please tell me. I think that what you're saying is that it's contrast.
Yeah.
Is that he's presented in a more sympathetic light, and that he tries to save Jonah's life, which of course raises the question of, is he doing that because he too is guilty for having taken a fugitive on board, where he does that knowing that the reason for why, as Melville paints it, he did that because of the money?
Okay, well, I thought though that he says too, that it's really up to God to judge.
Yes.
Doesn't want him on his conscience. So that he'll take him to land, and then if God wants to do what he wants to do with him, it's not something he did.
Gotcha.
think the
Gotcha.
thing is that he did take money for it, but I was thinking more, that he didn't want to be part of it.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
Okay.
Stan, do you want to try again?
Yes. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. I see Jonah as an atheist. He really is not a believer. And through the activities which take place, he gets broken down, he becomes a believer, he becomes a follower. But up until then, his being a Hebrew is only a label. It has no meaning for him because he has not experienced what Hashem can do in this world.
And do you think that this experience helps him do that, Stan?
I don't know because I don't know what happens after. I don't know if he just does enough to relieve the pain and the agony, or whether he truly goes on and becomes an acolyte. I don't know. We'll have to wait till next year to find out.
No, I think we're gonna have a tie up here in just a minute, but I think that either Miriam was just saying hello to me or she wants to say something.
Yeah, I see a real difference between our own reading of Jonah and Melville's, in the sense that, like Annie said, Melville's version is very black and white. I'm a New Englander, so it's not New England, but it's very black and white. Whereas we in forever, and even in Torah, are much more much more accepting of going against God's wishes, or at least arguing. And I see that as part of what's going on here, that Jonah indeed is does not want to do something, but that's kind of like in our nature, our Jewish nature.
Yeah, our Jewish nature is to question it, and our Jewish nature is to say, why am I doing this? Whereas Father Mapple certainly believes that if you get the word of God, that you are supposed to go and do it.
Right.
And I see Rabbi Benioff standing there, so I'm going to sort of tie up a few loose ends with the minute that is left before we have to go to Ne'ilah and the gates close. So we're just about to dock this ship in just a minute. I want to follow up on what both Stan and Miriam said, because what happens after this in the sermon is about Father Mapple and his relationship to God. And in fact, what Father Mapple says after that is that he feels that as the pilot of the living God, that he is incapable of performing the actions that God is asking him to do. And as the storm rages and as he speaks more, he gets more and more incensed and more emotionally wrought up with his own inability to influence his parishioners, his congregation, the sailors around him with a moral sense of the right thing to do and the wrong thing to do. And of course, in terms of the concept of the book, all of this is foreshadowing for what is going to happen on the Pequod, right? Because Ahab is evil incarnate. So not only is Ahab going to take everybody down with him, in Jonah, it's just Jonah who dies. In Moby Dick, it's everybody who dies. So at the end of the sermon by Father Mapple and how it ends, and I'm just going to read this so that I can spare everybody all of the pages, but I urge you to just click on the link that we gave you and either listen to the whole sermon or read it. It's up to you. But here he is at the end, okay? And he's down Now he's still up there in the crow's nest. Remember I talked about how he had to get up there? He's still up there and he's begging the congregation to have the opportunity to change places with him, to have somebody else be up there and have him be down below so that he's not responsible for people. And of course, nobody takes him up on it. So at the end, he says no more, but slowly waving a benediction, covered his face with his hands, and so remained kneeling, crying, till all the people had departed, and he was left alone in the place. So as we move into Ne'ilah, and as Rabbi Julie and the others take us all the way into the port, and the Yom Kippur voyage has been completed for the day that started yesterday. As those things happen, I invite all of us to think about what it means to be left alone in the place, and to think about how we can join with the community in an exploration together of where we have perhaps mixed the mark and how we can come together. Thanks, folks. It's 7 bells, and I'll see you next year.
Yasher koach. And thank you.
I also want to thank, before I go off camera and off mute, I want to thank my sister Ann Simon and Steve Saturn for all of their work on doing this. So thank you.
Yes, thank you both so much. It was awesome. So we're bringing the boat into shore, feeling gratitude for this powerful day, for this time that we've set aside for reaching this moment, about to enter Ne'ilah. Invite you into a moda'ani moment, just to be in gratitude as we enter this last piece. The words for moda'ani are number 29 in your supplement. Moda'ani lefanecha melech chai v'kayam. Moda'ani lefanecha melech chai v'kayam. Moda'ani lefanecha moda'ani lefanecha. Thankful are we before the divine, our guide and our sustainer. Yai dai dai, yada dai 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 dai. Yai dai dai, yada dai 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 dai. Yai dai dai, yada dai 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 dai. Yai dai dai, yada dai 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 dai. Yai dai dai, yada dai 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 dai. Yai dai dai, yada dai 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 dai. On Yom Kippur, we knock and knock and knock on our hearts to open them up, open them to truth, to seeing, to feeling, to loving. We have been vulnerable today with ourselves. We have looked at our lives And now we pray in these final moments together for this dedication of time to take us forward into our new year with strength, wholeness, with lightness, lighter from the lettings go, bolstered with resilience, remembering to see the ice cream in the thicket, to feed the hummingbirds after listening to the news, to rebuild that which has been broken and burned, to keep walking our labyrinths because we are needed on the other side and we are the people who cross over, and to build upon this day of work of forgiveness. With El Norah Alila, we pray for the divine accompaniment as we approach the gates, as we approach this next chapter, our new life, a new year awaiting us on the other side. We turn to page 746.
El Nora Alila Hamzila Nu Mechila Bishara Neila El Nora Alila Temis parkeruim Chainosim Umesalim Bechila El Nora Alila Shofrim Lechanavsham Chemish Am Vechasham Vehamzi Mechila El Nora Alila
Be a shield around us, deliver us from terror, secure us for glory and joy. Be compassionate and gracious to us, divine one whose work is awesome, indwelling presence whose deeds are great. Help us release and let go as the gates of mercy close.
El Nora Alila Hamzila Nu Mechila Bishara Neila El Nora Alila
Please join me in the supplement number 30, Questions Before Dark by Jean Lohman. Day ends, and before sleep, when the sky dies down, consider your altered state. Has this day changed you? Are the corners sharper or rounded off? Did you live with death, make decisions that quieted, find one clear word that fit? At the sun's midpoint, did you notice a pitch of absence, bewilderment that invites the possible? What did you learn from things you dropped and picked up and dropped again? Did you set a straw parallel to the river and let the flow carry you downstream? We turn to page 748 for the Chatzi Kaddish, which will be followed by a mostly silent Amidah, the first blessing, which will be chanted by Chazan Randall. Page 748.
Godal. V'yit Kadash. Shemei Rabbah. Be'olmo divrach yirutei v'amlich malchutei b'chayechon uv'yomechon uv'chayedechol Beit Yisrael Ba'agala Uvizman Koriv Veimeru Amen Yehesh Me'Rabba Mevorach Le'olam Olamei Ulmaya Yitborach Yitborach V'yishtabach V'yitboar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh V'yitadar V'yithaleh V'yitalol Shemei Dekudesha B'richu Leilol Leilol Mikol Birchatot Tushbecha v'nechemata damiron be'alma ve'imeru amen. Adonai Sivotai Tiftach ufi yagid Tihilotecho. Baruch Ato Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu Elohei Abraham Elohei Yitzchok Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachel Elohei Leah Hagadol Ahel Hagadol Agibor Ve'anoro Elyon Gomel Chasodim Tovim Ve'kanei HaKol Zocher Chastei Avot V'imot Umevi Gula Lifnei V'neihem Leman Shemo Be'avo Zochreinu Lechaim מלך חפץ בחיים, וחתמנו בספר החיים, וחתמנו בספר החיים, למענך אלוהים חיים. מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני מגן אברהם עזרת שרה.
We continue silently to page 762. In the book of life, blessing, peace, and honorable prosperity, may we be remembered and sealed, we and all your people Israel, for life, the life of goodness and peace.
בספר חיים פררה ושלום ופרנסה טובה. בספר חיים ברכה ושלום ופרנסה טובה. נכתב לפניך, אנחנו וכל עמך בית ישראל, לחיים טובים ושלום. ברוך אתה אדוני, ברוך אתה אדוני.
Blessed are you, Eternal One, author of peace. Please join me in your supplement number 31, Fletcher Oak by Mary Oliver. There is a tree here so beautiful it even has a name. Every morning when it is still dark, I stand under its branches. They flow from the thick and silent trunk. One can't begin to imagine their weight. Year after year they send out smaller and smaller branches and bunches of flat green leaves to touch the light. Of course, this has consequences. Every year the oak tree fills with fruit. Just now, since it is September, the acorns are starting to fall. I don't know if I will ever write another poem. I don't know if I am going to live for a long time yet or even for a while, but I am going to spend my life wisely. I'm going to be happy and frivolous and useful. Every morning in the dark, I gather a few acorns and imagine inside of them the pale oak trees. In the spring, when I go away, I'll take them with me to my own country, which is a land of sun and restless ocean and moist woods, and I'll dig down. I'll hide each acorn in a cool place in the black earth, to rise like a slow and beautiful poem, to live a long time. Petach lanu sha'ar, page 763. Open for us the gates, even as the gates are closing, for daylight fades. The day is waning, the sun is setting and ebbing away. Let us enter your gates at last. We implore you, O God, please acquit, forgive, pardon, be merciful, have compassion, exonerate, restrain sin and iniquity. Petach lanu sha'ar, beit nilat sha'ar, ki fanav yom, hayom yifnei. Hashemesh yavo ve'yifnei nevoah she'arecha ana elna sana selachna mechana chamalna rachemna kaperna kevosh chet ve'avon. We turn to page 467. The eternal, the ever-present is a compassionate and gracious God, patient, abounding in devotion and truth, assuring steadfast love for 1,000 generations, forgiving transgression, iniquity, and sin, and granting pardon. Adonai, Adonai, El Rachum Vechanun, Erech Apayim, V'Rav Chesed V'Emet, Notze Chesed Le'alafim, Nose Avon V'Fesha V'Chata'a V'Nakei. Adonai, Adonai, El Rachum Vechanun, Erech Apayim V'Rav Chesed V'Emet, Notzer Chesed Le'alafim, Nose Avon V'Fesha V'Chata'a V'Nakei. Adonai, Adonai, רחום וחנון, ערך אפיים, רב חסד ואמת, נוצא חסד לאלפים, נושא עוון ופשע וחטאה ונקה. Page 770. This is about one of my most favorite songs in our Yom Kippur liturgy, Kianu Amecha. It's a love song. We're saying we are God's and God is ours. We belong to the universe belongs to us. We are each other's. We are each other's beloved. Our God and God of our ancestors, forgive us, pardon us, grant us atonement, for we are your people and you are our God. We are your children and you are our parent. We are your servants and you are our crown. We are your congregation and you our portion. We are your domain and you are destiny. We are your flock and you are our shepherd. We are your vineyard and you are our watchman. We are your creatures and you are our creator. We are your lovers and you are our beloved. We are your treasure and you are our keeper. We are your people and you are sovereign. We affirm you and you affirm us. Kianu Amecha Ve'ata Eloheinu Anu Vanecha Ve'ata Avinu Anu Avadecha Ve'ata Adonenu Anu Kehalecha Ve'ata Chelkeinu Anu Nachaletecha Ve'ata Goraleinu Anu Tzonecha Ve'ata Roeinu Anu Karmecha Ve'ata Notreinu Anu Fe'ulatecha Ve'ata Yotzreinu Anu Rayatecha Ve'ata Dodeinu Anu Segulatecha Ve'ata Keroveinu Anu Amecha Ve'ata Malkeinu Anu Ma'amerecha Ve'ata Ma'amirenu. We now turn to our supplement. Number 32. But before we do the Ahavnu together, a hope for today that we have stripped away all that's in the way to get to the core of our goodness, and that we will carry forward. Rav Kook teaches, just as there is great value to the repair of the soul by the confession of sins, there is also great value by the confession of mitzvot, our positive deeds, in order to gladden the heart and strengthen the paths of life in the way of God. And so as we turn to the path ahead, the year ahead, let our hearts be glad and strong. And please join me. The supplement, number 32. Ahavnu. We have loved, we have blessed, we have grown, we have spoken positively. We have raised up, we have shown compassion, we have acted enthusiastically. We have been empathetic, we have cultivated truth, we have given good advice. We have respected, we have learned, we have forgiven. We have comforted, we have been creative, We have stirred. We have been spiritual activists. We have been just. We have longed for Yisrael. We have been merciful. We have given full effort. We have supported. We have contributed. We have repaired. We now turn to page 780 for a final Avinu Malkeinu.
Avinu Malkeinu, Chaneinu Vaneinu, Avinu Malkeinu, Chaneinu Vaneinu, Ki ein banu maasim, Aseh imanu, Tzedakah v'chesed, Aseh imanu tzedakah v'chesed v'hoshienu. Avinu Malkeinu, Chaneinu v'aneinu. Avinu Malkeinu, Chaneinu v'aneinu, Ki ein banu maasim. Aseh imanu, tzedakah v'chesed. Aseh imanu, tzedakah v'chesed v'hoshienu.
We hear so much in the final blast of the shofar, says Rabbi Sheila Peltz-Weinberg. It's the royal sovereign. The royal sovereign is present. Messianic hope is revoked. The ram has been substituted. We are awake, aroused from our slumber. We are called to continuous struggle. We are celebrating and rejoicing. We are crying and releasing everything that has transpired in this long day. Encourage you to rise as you are able. Feel free to be underneath your talit or in the arms of a beloved beside you, or imagine arms around you of those you love. Page 781. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Vaed. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Vaed. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Vaed. Adonai hu ha-Elohim, 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 Adonai hu ha-Elohim. Tekiah Gdolah. L'shana haba'a b'Yerushalayim, next year in Jerusalem. Welcome to the new year. We now have Havdalah, which can be found in your supplement, number 33. The holiness of the day is saying, no, don't leave me yet. Oh, our candle isn't lighting. Let's try again. Let's see here. All right, we got one lit. Good. There we go. We'll call that good. Yai dai dai da 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 dai dai. Yai dai da 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 dai dai. Yai dai da 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 dai dai. Yai da dai dai dai. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei Peri agafen, borei peri agafen. Yai dai da 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 dai dai. Yai dai da 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 dai dai. Yai dai da 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 dai dai. Ya da dai da 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 dai. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei minei nesamim borei minei nesamim Yai lai da 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 Dai da 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 da, dai da 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 da, ya da 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 da. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei meorei haesh borei meorei haesh. Yai da la 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 la. La 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 la, ya da da, ya la la. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamavdil ben kodesh lechol hamavdil ben kodesh lechol. I don't have bread, but I have crackers. And I hope some of you at home have bread. I know at home I have bread. We're going to say a motzi together. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz.
Amen.
Shana tova umituka. A good and sweet new year to all. Blessings and much love.